Hello and welcome. This is Talk to SSBC, where we discuss cross-cutting issues. Today, I am joined by the Honorable Secretary General of the SPLM, Honorable Peter Lamboth, to discuss the SPLM renaissance and the restructuring of the party. Today, we'll discuss more on that issue and also the recent reshuffle of the government. Stay back. We will take you through. Welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
Honorable, welcome to this program, and it's my pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much.
And first of all, congratulations on your confirmation as the Secretary General of the SPLM.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How is the party doing?
The party is progressing. We are doing well. We have started with a number of activities in the new year, and we are progressing towards visiting once again some of the counties that we were not able to visit, and that we have certain blockages, especially for the SPLM. So that is our next move now. We call it Renaissance Phase 2.
Okay.
So that is what we'll be doing in the next 3 months.
The next 3 months?
Yes.
The National Liberation Council last year, it made a major restructuring of the party, including creating new positions, like the chairman has 2 or 3 deputies, right? The Secretary General has 2 deputies. This is a major restructuring in the party. What is your plan on the National Secretariat? Do you have any plans to restructure the Secretariat?
Yes, we are working now to put some plans in place. The National Secretariat is supposed to have 13 secretaries and 13 deputies of the secretaries. And we are going to ensure that all the structures are completed, and that then the next primary elections for within the party gets us well organized, and so that we can move with the speed that we would like to move.
Okay.
So definitely there is a plan.
Like what do you foresee in the structuring? What areas do you want to touch? Positions?
The SPLM,
SPLM
has a constitution.
Yes.
And the constitutions are, the positions in the National Secretariat are provided for by the Constitution. So when I say 13 secretaries, that's something that is in the Constitution, as well as the deputies. The Constitution also has the Secretary General and 2 deputies of the Secretary General, and the chairman of the SPLM with his deputies.
Yes.
So this is what we did last year, really, mainly for the leadership structure. Was to complete the party formation so that SPLM is ready for the next elections.
The completion of the party's formation, what do you mean?
I mean to say that since 2013, there have been vacant positions within the party.
Yeah.
You remember some of our comrades left, formed their own parties, and then people went and negotiated the Arusha agreement. Which again brought back the party, especially those who went against the party.
Yeah.
Were called upon to come and rejoin the group. And December last year, we managed to unite the party, especially together with those who decided that they want to return to the party. Yeah. And those who decide to have their own parties and move on with politics using their own parties. We say South Sudan is a democratic country, and anyone has a right to form their own party. So we came together and we united our party. That is why I said we have filled the structures, especially the national structures of the party.
But still, some groups are still out.
Of course, I think it is not, well, return to the party is a mandatory choice of an individual.
Still, you mean there's room for them to return?
We have finished the structures of the party, we have united, we have ended everything. So our Arusha agreement is finished. Whoever wants to come now will come as a new person who wants to join the party, and they will be welcome like any other new person who wants to join the party, but not using the same seniority that they once had, and which was provided for by the Arusha agreement, because the implementation is over.
if somebody talks of SPLM, there are still, as I said, there are still other factions or groups outside. In their minds, they still think that that is part of the major SPLM, the ruling party.
That is wrong.
How are you going to clear that name
Well,
completely so that it belongs to an individual party?
SPLM is a registered political party in South Sudan according to our regulations and law. And so anybody who calls themselves outside the country as SPLM something, they are doing so because they are still in rebellion. But once they come back to South Sudan, the registrar of the political parties in South Sudan will ask them to drop that name because it has already been used. You cannot have two SPLMs in the same country registered as working political parties. That's not going to happen.
But it's happening now.
It is a law.
It's happening now.
It's happening because they are not registered yet. There is a time when they will be registered and they will think of a name. And I'm sure they are thinking of names now, because that is something that is already there in the law.
There is a political act, I think.
Political Parties Act, yes.
Yes, Political Parties Act. What does the Political Parties Act refer to in terms of what you're saying right now?
A trademark is a trademark. A name is already, a brand is already taken. So the name SPLM has been registered since the time we went for elections in 2010. And SPLM has also been registered once again in 2015 as an SPLM. So our name is secure, it is there. But whoever wants to take our name will have to be taken to court because that is a name taken.
As the SG of the party, what do you see as the most challenging in your new job?
The most challenging is always the unity of the people of the membership of the SPLM. That is the most challenging, and it is the biggest task, that you maintain the party to be united, that all the party members are disciplined and talking the same language, and observing and working according to what is agreed and what is written in the party constitution. That is the biggest challenge, and my hope is that as we always come together, we discuss as party, and whatever the majority has agreed, that all the outliers, the people who might have different opinions, can learn to go by what the majority has decided. That is the most important challenge we have. Unity of the party is critical.
So how are you going to handle this? Unity is very important in any situation, in any party. For you to win election, first you have to be united.
Absolutely, and that is...
How are you going to bring all these people together?
The unity of the party, as far as we are concerned, we have made a major breakthrough last year in December when we came together as SPLM through the National Liberation Council meeting and filled all the positions of the party that were to be filled through elections. As we are speaking right now, SPLM is very well united, and that is what we need. What I'm talking about is how do we maintain this kind of unity and momentum as we move forward. That is the biggest challenge we have.
Okay. Last year you had a tour, the SPLM Renaissance. You went to all the 10 states and the 3 administrative areas. What have you seen? From your membership, from how your activities are taking place, is SPLM having a root in most of these states or all of them?
You have seen the rallies that we conducted in the headquarters all over the country. What I've seen is that, and I think most of the people of South Sudan have seen, is that SPLM is very strong on the grassroots level, and that our people still have faith and belief in the party that liberated this country, in the party that created a name for themselves. Yes, they are disappointed that we went to war in 2013 and that country was brought backwards. But we also have a reason to believe that we are still SPLM. We have had so many problems in the past during the liberation struggle, but the SPLM never lost the faith and vision of where it is going. So in the same manner, whatever happened in 2013 shall be overcome, and the people of South Sudan will once again be united and move forward and develop their country. Our people in the countryside are tired of war. They do not want to fight again. So they want to continue as a united people, and they call on President Salva and First Vice President Dr. Riek that time for fighting is over. They need peace in the country, and as we go for elections, they will be very happy to elect whoever they want to be a president of this country. But we should not continue to subject our country to crisis. That is not what our people want.
Now, based on what you're saying, the recent decision that was taken by the SPLM chairman to fire the two ministers, the Minister of Defense and the Minister of Interior, and he swapped the ministries. The Ministry of Defense, it is now taken to SPLM, and the Ministry of Interior is given to IO. Why is that so?
The president, in accordance with constitutional mandate, has the obligation and responsibility to relieve a minister or appoint a minister at any given time based on what he sees is the right thing for the country. And he can still swap, especially in the peace partners. The agreement was not signed on that this ministry belongs to that party. It was, the agreement talks about sharing of power, and the power can be shared between ministries as it was done before.
Just briefly explain how was this sharing done?
The high-level committee were formed between political parties that were signatory to the agreement. And the committee sat down and decided through negotiation which portfolio, which ministry goes where. And if my memory really serves me correctly, the Ministry of Defense was with the SPLM, and the Interior was with IO during the negotiations. But yes, here at the high-level committee meeting. But in the end, the Ministry of Defense went to IO, and the Interior came to us. Of course, it was through negotiations. And so now the Commander-in-Chief of our forces, President Salva, has decided that he wants to relieve the ministers, and he wants to swap the ministries. That is a normal function of any president. What would have been a violation of the agreement is if he said that we don't want to give any other ministry to IO, and that our Interior and the Defense would be with SPLM. That's where people can say, oh, there's a violation. But if it is a swap, he has a right to do any swapping with any other ministries. That is his constitutional mandate, and I think our peace partners also know that. But they just want to say that maybe we could have negotiated. Probably this is the only thing they could have talked about.
The swapping, what law is he using, or from where is he getting that power from to do the swapping? Is there any article in the agreement that allows for swapping of ministries?
There is, like I said before, it is not written in the Constitution, in the agreement, who takes which ministry. It is the local arrangement by the high-level committees. And so the president has a right even to create a totally new ministry now. He can create it. And he can even come up with a new advisory position in the country. He can still create it. That is his constitutional mandate. And no one can interfere with that. Absolutely nobody.
The agreement talks of consultation between the principals.
Correct.
Has it happened?
It did, and the good thing is that the consultation was even done in writing. And so the president wrote to his peace partner, the first vice president, that he was interested to take that action. So the parties knew that this action was coming about. The fact that he said no does not mean that he was not consulted.
So there was consultation. That's what you mean?
Yes, that's what I mean. And that consultation was done in writing. It was not something verbal that people can deny.
What happened during yesterday's meeting? I understand the two principals, they were having a meeting to resolve on this issue. And unfortunately, the meeting has been pushed to a date that is not known.
Well,
what happened exactly? Have they agreed? Because the citizens are really worried. They are panicking about this issue.
There is no, first of all, our citizens cannot panic over a ministerial wrangling. That's not something that can do away with the agreement. It happened before, even as well, in the past, during the implementation of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. some ministries were not given to us, but we never left the peace agreement because ministries are ministries. What the president of a republic sees as a threat to the national security of South Sudan, he has a constitutional obligation to intervene. And so the yesterday's meeting, they discuss on the same matter.
Yeah.
They have not yet resolved it, but they are progressing, and there's still ongoing discussion now, low-level discussions between the two principals. There are teams that are going between them and trying to come up with a solution. But otherwise, it's not to call for an alarm in the country. This is a simple matter.
Okay. You said a ministry is just a ministry.
It is.
And why is SPLM interested in the Ministry of Defense at this time?
I said to you before that the President of the Republic has a constitutional obligation to protect this country. And if he sees fit that the Ministry of Defense is the right ministry now that needs to be led by somebody that he has trust on, I don't think there is a problem with that.
So it is fine.
As far as
whatever, according to you, everything is fine. The citizens should be calm. There's no alarm to worry about, and that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. There is no call for an alarm. People should go about their business. This is a normal government function. There are certain things, there are hiccups that happens, but in the end, people move on. There's no problem.
Okay.
There's no problem at all.
Now let's talk about elections. How is the preparation going on for elections? Elections, according to the roadmap, it is to happen next year.
Yes.
Right? How is the preparation so far?
The preparation for elections for us in the SPLM, because each party addresses it as they go.
Yeah.
Because we have a date and we have a deadline for elections. Our first process as a SPLM was to create all our structures at the grassroots level last year, from boomers all the way to the national level. Now we are functioning SPLM secretariats from boomers to the national. Yeah. That is the first step. The second step now is to establish our party where we think we are not very strong. And that's what we are doing in the next few months. Yeah. And the third will be to really go for primaries among ourselves as SPLM as to who will be our candidates in the next general elections. And we will end up with a convention hopefully by the end of this year, so that next year we are ready for the general elections. That is how preparation is now taking place. And since we have already organized our grassroots, really majority of our stumbling blocks have been overcome.
Okay. Would you want to say something about the insecurity in some other places? How would that allow elections to take place? And issues concerning the refugees, how are they going to participate in this election? And up to this level, what is the total number of South Sudanese? I am quite sure these concerns are very important to consider when holding an election.
Yes. First of all, the issue of the pockets of insecurity, these are most of the times caused by our own peace partners who have signed agreement with us, but have not been able to reach to their bases and tell them that we are now in peace and we are now implementing the peace agreement. Our hope is that they will talk to their bases so that peace comes and elections are done in accordance with a peaceful environment as called for by the agreement. This is one. Number two, the issue of the relocation, especially of IDPs and the refugees. Yeah. Refugees, by law, are not forced to return to a country. It is their choice to return. And as they see fit that the country is now back to normalcy, they will decide on their own to come back. And they will be assisted by us as a government and with the help of international community. But if they feel that the environment is not fit as they see it, because when you are very far away, you think that everything is not good, then I think they have the right to ask to participate in the elections where they are, especially in the presidential elections. The IDPs can either be registered where they are or return to where they came from. And I think the president has started the process with UNMIS, with those IDPs who are in the former protection of civilian sites here in Juba.
Yeah.
And he has told them that people must come out of the sites and return to either where they come from,
Yeah.
or be assisted to settle where they are. And so that process is ongoing, and it has been put in the hand of the security advisor to handle that file. Yes.
How do you see the elections to be? There are some complaints of lack of free and fair elections. How can you?
How do you address?
That,
how do you talk about lack of free and fair elections before you start?
Well, that one based on the civil population, or let me say the civil society. They have been complaining that the space has not been given to them.
You know, I think, first of all, the issue of lack of political space was created by opposition so that people don't go for elections. Take it like this. There are some counties in this country which are under SPLM-IO. They have blocked those counties. They don't allow any political party to do any political activity in the country. Did you hear SPLM talk about lack of political space? We think that they will open it, and we are talking to them in the ground to open it. Tell me one area in South Sudan under the SPLM or the government that has stopped an IO or SWA or FDs establishing their office or conducting a political rally. Where in the country? You will not find it. So political space, lack of political space, is being used as a cover to refuse to go for elections. People must give us examples so that if there is anybody from SPLM or any other place that is stopping them from doing their political activities, let them inform us and we will intervene. Because, of course, there can be some isolated incidences somewhere which we don't know about. But they should tell us and we go. Let me give you an example. There was a time IO printed T-shirts, the blue T-shirts for their party. They went to a particular company here. And they said the company refused to print their T-shirts because SPLM and National Security said no. And they wrote it on the newspaper. And I took them on that. I said, tell me which company. And they told us, we went to the company. The company said, no, we just told them that there was no ink to print. We said, don't twist stories. When something is wrong, don't always project it to because the international community is so sympathetic to them. The civil society is funded by international communities. They are so sympathetic to their funders. So everybody sings the same song with the opposition, which is not supposed to be the way, you know. They are supposed to be fair. And so when there are issues of political space, they must be specific and they must be pinned down. Like when I gave my speech during the National Liberation Council meeting of the SPLM, I was specific as to which counties. The IO is not allowing SPLM to open their offices. I was very specific. And they know, and I have addressed it with them. They know that. So it is not an issue of saying no political space and then people say yes, but which political space and where is important.
They have been complaining there's no political space. That's the reason why they are not able even to start their campaigns.
No, they have started. If you go to Eastern Equatoria, IO opened an office there. The IO opened an office in Juba. They had their rally here. IO has opened their office everywhere that they are capable of doing. Some of their offices that are not operating is not because of political space. It's because of lack of logistics, because it is not easy to run a big political organization. So I want somebody to be very specific, say this is the area, this is where is prevented. Somebody was chased away by rain the other time. There were two of them. They wanted to hold a rally, and there were only two people who came out. What chased them was the rain. It was not anybody. So please let us be fair and let us be specific.
Do you think you are going to win the elections?
We are going to, SPLM is preparing well. And our preparation is that we must register as many people as possible. Last year we registered 4.5 million. The population of South Sudan, you asked me, is 12-point-something million. And so we want to register more than 6 or 7 million. And if you register that number, there's no reason for you to fail an election, because election is about registered members, and it is about numbers. It is about mathematics. You don't multiply. You don't create it. And so therefore, our plan is that we go for elections and we win. We will win for a very big margin. We don't want to win with 50+1 where somebody will come and say that, well, the election is rigged here and there. No, we want to win with a big number so that whoever comes, whoever will want to count, will know that whatever you do will be futile. And so that we settle this question once and for all as to who is popular in this country.
Your party, the SPLM, has been criticized for many reasons, including poor governance, corruption. What happens if you fail the elections?
Who rebelled? Who do you accuse in this country for corruption? Who rebelled? The same people who ran the government for so many years, from 2005. When they were relieved of their positions, they rebelled against the SPLM. And when they went outside, they pointed their fingers at other people and said that there is corruption. Who is it that the people of South Sudan accuse of corruption? We know people by names, and therefore when people go for elections, they know people by names. It's not the blanket SPLM blame. It is individuals in the system who created the problem, who ran away and pointed fingers at people. The people of South Sudan know them. It is not an imaginary thing. People know them. It's not important that you create a mess, you start a war, you get out of the country, you accuse people of war on whom you impose war. What do you want people to do? Can they not defend themselves? They have the right to self-defense the same way you have it. And so therefore nobody from South Sudan does not know the reality and the truth. And we will talk during elections. People think that SPLM has nothing to say, but we will talk during elections. And I will want to see an opposition party showing me what they have done for people of South Sudan that the SPLM did not do. What is it? What did they do for people of South Sudan that we did not do?
So you are confident of winning?
Very confident. I'm very confident.
What if you fail? Would you accept defeat?
Of course we will. Why not? We are the SPLM.
That is a guarantee.
We are the SPLM who liberated this country. We did not liberate it to be a dictatorship. We liberated it to be a democratic state. If we are defeated, we will accept and we will organize ourselves to win the next election. We have no problem with that.
So how would you promote, what is the plan of the SPLM in terms of promoting peace and democracy in the country?
We have been saying, and when I went across the country, I'm on record with that every political party has a right to open their offices, establish their presence, register their members, conduct rallies. I'm on record with that. That is how you open up a political space. Tell me one time which political party has gone to their areas and say that open up the space. Nobody. We are on record with that because we don't want people to blame us. You know, some of these parties at this point in time in South Sudan now, we have about 54 political parties. Only 14 are legal for parties. The rest are brought in by agreement. Now, out of these 54 political parties, some of these parties are only family parties. And so when people go for elections, they have the right to register and let them compete. And let's see who comes to them.
Yeah.
That is the elections will be the only thing that solved this political confusion that was brought by the revitalized peace agreement.
Now, you're talking of elections as the only solution to these issues maybe that are happening. You talk about, do you have an idea about what is happening about the cattle raiding, these intercommunal conflicts that are taking place in the country?
Yes.
What is the plan of the SPLM in terms of solving such kind of...
we have the revitalized government.
This one has nothing to do with elections, I guess.
No, the cattle wrestling has always been there in South Sudan since time the cattle started. So it is not something new, and it is not something that you can hold a country hostage because of cattle wrestling. But cattle wrestling is a security matter.
Yes.
And as the government that we have established is now there, development is reaching to those areas, especially the road network is now passing through Bor, and it is going to Ayod, and it is going to Akoba, and all these places. Before the elections takes place, you are going to have to take guns away from the hands of these people. And so it's not just one group, it is all over the country. There has to be disarmament that will take place. And that comprehensive disarmament will enable people to return back to their homes, take away these guns, and be able to live together once again. Without that exercise, the people will always take laws into their own hands. You know, people who are having guns can always create havoc anytime, anywhere.
Okay. Let's go for a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the issues about the border. You know, there are some issues last month about Nadapal, and also issue concerning maybe ABA or just the borders generally. Okay. You will have to tell us or tell the viewer the plan of the SPLM how to solve these border issues.
Okay, thank you.
Viewer, we are going for a short break. We'll be right back. Please don't go away. Welcome back from that short break. We are still with the Secretary General of the SPLM, Peter Lamboth, and we are discussing about the SPLM renaissance and the recent reshuffle of the government. Please sit back and watch the show. Welcome back from that short break.
Thank you.
As I said earlier on, there are so many issues regarding our border, like Nadapal, ABA issues. These issues have not been solved. What is the plan of the SPLM as a ruling party in regards to solving these issues so that, because you know, the party, the SPLM, is tasked with the responsibility of territorial integrity, protecting the citizens. What is the plan of the SPLM in that regard to make sure that all these issues are solved?
You know, in a nutshell,
yes,
the SPLM has a responsibility to protect South Sudan.
Yeah.
And so the issue of ABA was the first issue that the SPLM addressed, even before the problem of South Sudan.
It has taken a long time. It has
even
not
before
been solved.
the issue of South Sudan, the SPLM took the issue of ABA on.
Yeah.
And because of the intransigence of the peace partners in Khartoum at the time, it has reached us to this level. And it is not only the issue of the border of ABA, it is also Mile 14, it is Jordan Rang, it is, so all our borders, all our borders with the Sudan are still outstanding. And we have not given up. A committee was formed, the border committee, between South Sudan and the Sudan. And the committee has been working on this. But they have not yet reached a solution, but they are engaging with that. Even the issue of ABA, as you know, has been raised up again, and people are in discussion with the Sudan. When it comes to our border with Kenya and Uganda, our borders are clear with those countries since the time of colonial period. And when we became independent, our borders are very clear. Yes, the two neighbors have been encroaching into, you know, when you have international, when you have a problem in your house, your neighbors begin to come and listen to inside your house as to what is happening. So Kenya and Uganda are friendly countries. We believe that they know where their border is. The other time when the incident happened at the Natabal border, the president dispatched a high-level delegation led by Minister for Presidential Affairs to the government of Kenya. And they have decided that they are going to review the border issues with not only with Kenya but also with Uganda, so that people go back to where they came. I think there were also some confusion. I think some of our ministers, our government officials, signed some documents with those countries, especially with Kenya, which I have seen. Really, the documents were about the fact that they want roads to come into South Sudan. They wanted to help us build some of the roads into South Sudan. And as those roads are coming into South Sudan, also civil population of those countries follow them. That's where the misunderstanding came. But otherwise, I think, and I'm sure that our borders are very clear with the two neighboring countries. But in short, we are addressing the issue of borders.
Okay.
But we don't want to always be addressing things through violence. We need to use diplomacy
Peaceful means
to address our issues.
What is the plan of the SPLM in terms of economic development? You know, things like job creation for the youth. The country is relying on oil revenues. What is the plan of the SPLM in terms of the economic development general? Because, like, if you take the situation right now, people are suffering.
People are suffering.
Dollar is very high. Food prices are very high.
People are suffering.
Yes.
And we have to have a different paradigm. We have to have a paradigm shift in how we want to develop the country. I think our problem since 2005, you know, has been that we treated every issue in the country as a national emergency and as a crisis. And we tried to address all of them together. Because since we came 2005, education was a high priority, agriculture was a high priority, everything was a high priority. But we did not really manage to sit down and say, we don't have enough resources to address all of these at once. We were supposed to have high impact projects to do and say that, okay, education, this is the only budget you have. We are not going to increase anything for you. But agriculture, we are going to invest in agriculture and roads this year. And if we put all our money there for the next 2 years, you are going to see a different sector in South Sudan. And the next 2 years, you move to the next one. That plan didn't take place. And I think that is where the concept of using oil money to fuel the agricultural sector failed. It failed because we did not really have proper analysis and proper prioritization. Then, of course, the war came. Whatever you try to do during wartime, whether you are very intelligent or not, development and war are opposites. They are antithetical. They cannot go together.
No.
So whatever you have now, you can't do anything with it until you bring the country back to peace. And we believe that the next phase will be really setting up development agenda, especially focusing on roads, focusing on agriculture sector, and focusing on real primary issues that can bring the country back. Electricity. You can't have industrial development without electricity. So we have to prioritize all those. We also want to say, because there's something that is missing when we talk.
All right. Okay.
We are only talking about the government. What is it the government can do for me? What is it that you can do as a citizen of South Sudan for your government? What we used to do when Sudan was one, South Sudanese were never given assistance by anybody during the United Sudan. We were the one feeding ourselves. We were the one cultivating. We were the one running after our cattle. We were the ones keeping our peace. What happened to our resilience, to us as people of South Sudan? What are we doing now to improve the economy as a people? That one is not there.
When you start to cultivate somewhere, somebody will come and shoot you, will maybe bring cattle and eat all the crops.
Who was shooting during the 2011, 2010, 2011, 2012? Who was shooting at the time? There was no war there. But people decided to run to their relatives in the villages, from the villages to towns, and started to live idle life here. That has impacted. I'm not saying this is the only thing. I'm saying development is government, it's private sector, it is the people. If people are not producing, why would dollar price go down? Because then it means now your citizens are not producing anything. You have to go to another country to bring the produce, and that's what keeps the price up.
These people, they are looking up to the government to provide some subsidies, things like maybe fertilizers, even things like capital. You know, agriculture needs the government at least to provide some kind of things that can make them really do that.
The government can do that, but again, I'm saying, in African countries, we don't do that. Most of the African countries are not doing that. what they do is that they provide the peaceful environment. I think what our people can call for is that we need a peaceful environment where we can go back to our subsistence agriculture and begin to produce ourselves. Then the government can now come in and help. But now if everybody is not engaged in the agricultural sector, very minority of people are doing that. So government is not going to provide 100% of the needs of the country. The government looks like, or the government is as powerful as its people. If the people of South Sudan do not produce, their government will be as poor as them. So they cannot expect government to bring something from the sky and give it to them. It is the government will tax them, and that tax will now be the service for them. We are just lucky that we got an oil which was there. If there was no oil, I think people would have been cultivating by now. But the thing is that the oil curse came to us, and people are now used to getting money from oil every month. Some people are saying
even they are not seeing even the oil money.
They see it, but they don't feel it is theirs. If they don't see it, whose asphalt road they are walking on is provided by what? It is the oil sector. It is the oil money. You see? So all the things that you are seeing moving, it is the oil money providing it for. Indeed, I think that especially Equatoria is now being connected with the road network using the oil money. I think the people that are complaining are Upper Nile people, because the oil is not, they are not seeing the benefits of oil anywhere. But now the president has launched the road from Borneo going all the way to Upper Nile. And the people of Upper Nile will now see that something is coming, because they always see some oil coming and leaving them, and there is nothing there. People of Barghazal, the same thing. They are not benefiting from this. So we need to be reasonable when we criticize. We need to see what has been done. Because when people say that, oh, we wish we were like in the old Sudan, those are people who are just desperate. Even with this kind of situation we are in, we are better than when we were in the Sudan. Yes.
What about the job creation? There are those women that are jobless completely.
It's not just, it is not just the women. I think it is the youth generally.
Generally, yes.
We have a problem.
It is very important that the government should think of something about these people.
Absolutely. But the government will not be the only employer. The government cannot employ everyone in the country. That is not possible, and it is not doable, even in America. What is necessary is that you create an environment where private sector will come and invest. And that investment will now create jobs for our people. So if we teach our people that the only job that is outside there is government, it's not going to help them. It will take us a long time to wean them out of that expectation. The government indeed doesn't pay anything. It is the private sector that pays people better.
Correct.
And so it is our hope that this peace agreement being implemented, going for elections, and the stability returns to the country, that we will have a stable country where investors can come, invest in agriculture, invest in the electricity. Without electricity, I'm telling you, you cannot create jobs.
That's right.
Because heavy industries will not come here if there's no electricity. The one we have here in Juba is it's still using generators. So that is not a stable electricity. We have to think about that. We have to think about building our roads.
There was a project of the dam, I think, somewhere, I don't know, I have forgotten. There was a government project that was supposed to bring electricity. Where has it ended?
I think that because of the war of 2013, the investors did not fulfill their obligation. But it is in the plans. We are hopeful that really when this phase of fighting is over, we are going to capitalize on this. Because without that, we cannot go anywhere.
So at the moment, what are the major priorities of the SPLM?
For us, the biggest priority is stabilizing the country through peace agreement. That is the biggest one. Number two is to attract investors to come into the country and to invest in various fields, in agriculture, in electricity, in the roads, and everything else, so that our people can see the dividends of peace. And once you are able to provide that, and then I think our people will also get employment.
Okay. Then what is the plan of realizing the vision of maybe like bringing investors. How would you do that?
First of all,
based on the current situation?
When you are in war, you cannot think of attracting investors, because investors are coming with their money and they want to invest in a country where they can have a return for their investment. So the strategy is that we must stabilize our country. We must ensure that peace returns, so that investors can come. You remember in 2012, we had a very big international investment conference here in Juba, where almost every person came here to explore possibilities for themselves in the young country. And immediately the war started, and those investors could not come and invest. So security is a responsibility of individual as well as the government. And so therefore, if the government is working hard to bring peace and stability, we as individual citizens of this country, we must also do our part to bring peace and stability. We have to respect and live in peace with our neighbors. We have to advise those relatives who are continuing to rebel for reasons that are only known to them. So that let us give people of South Sudan the rest they need, the peace they need.
So what do you think the international community, what role do you think they should give the government in regards to solving some of the issues?
You know, the international community are divided into two. There is a side of international community that is working to help the people of South Sudan to get stability and get back to their feet. And there are also members of international community that are not interested in the peace agreement. They are not interested in the peace process. They want a peace process or a peace implementation in accordance to what they want. And then so this is why you see whenever there is a small incident, it is drummed up all across the countries that are our neighbors and all across the international community that something very big is happening, and they try to fuel it so that a crisis returns again, because there are certain individuals, certain parties that are not doing their interests, and so they want to get rid of those. But my call always for international community is that the people of South Sudan know better what they need for themselves. Our peace will never come from foreign capitals. It will come from us here. And that their job should really be to support us in the peace process, in the peace implementation, so that the people of South Sudan can live in peace. But anything that comes to destabilize us more should not be given credence by international community, because it will create more crisis, it will create more chaos for our people.
At some point, the international community see the government as reluctant in doing its work, in taking its responsibility.
In which areas?
Like taking care of its people, its own citizens.
No, I think that is not what, you see, international...
They believe the government has rendered maybe the responsibility of taking care of the citizens to donors.
No, I think that is the politics of divide and rule. They want to put in the minds of the people of South Sudan that your government doesn't care for you, that we are the ones who care for you, and that you must reject this government. That is the policy that they are bringing with their money, and put it in the humanitarian sector, and preach it to our people, preach it to our civil society. That is a different war altogether that they are fighting. But for us, when we were liberating South Sudan, where was the international community? Did they fire a single bullet to liberate South Sudanese? They didn't. Those who assisted us militarily are not the ones who are criticizing us. The point of the matter is that if I ask you, every year they say we spend $1 billion on supporting the government and the people of South Sudan. Have you seen that money anywhere? No. It's not coming to South Sudan. Where is that money going? And they are supposed to be accountable to the people of South Sudan and their government. Did they ever show us where their money is? No. But they always tell us that you are corrupt and we want to see this and we want to see that. Okay. But responsibility and accountability is both ways. And so for us, in short, the people of South Sudan are a responsibility of our government. And whatever is small we are able to do, we will do it. Whatever they provide in terms of humanitarian assistance, they can do it. But they cannot use it to create crisis within the country. That one we cannot accept.
So how do you see as the most difficult thing in South Sudan? Like, for example, the challenges. What kind of challenges do you see facing South Sudan today?
The biggest challenge facing South Sudan today is unity of our people. Politicians who want positions in government come from certain ethnic groups. And when they are relieved from their position, they run away from the government and tell their people that ethnic group X does not want us in the government. They have thrown me out. So let us rebel, so that they mobilize their bases, their ethnic groups, to come in order to come back to the government. And our people in the villages, they don't know these tricks of politicians. They think that the politicians are genuine. So they go after them. They fight, destroy the place. And tomorrow, when that politician gets a position in government, they say our problem is finished. Now we are okay. But who is okay? It is him or her who has come back to the government, but the whole area is destroyed.
What is the solution to solve this kind of confusion?
The solution is that we must educate our people, especially our local people. We must educate them, we must liberate them from tribal mindset. Because tribalism...
Educating the masses.
Educating the masses.
Within the government?
Not the
imagine a scenario that somebody rebels. Then he's called back for negotiation. And that person is given a high position. Don't you think somebody else will think, oh, so-and-so was given a position because he rebelled, and the same thing will be done to me?
That is why we say that promotion of rebellion creates more rebellion. Especially rewarding rebellion creates more rebellion. When the peace agreement was discussed and people went again for the revitalization, what happened was that now people saw, oh, the only time you can go to the government job is by rebelling or by creating a party. And then now IGAD came up with what was called inclusivity. That inclusivity created crisis for South Sudan. Multiplied parties that were looking for positions in government. Multiplied everything that people wanted to do. And so it became uncontrollable. Now you have pockets of rebellion everywhere at that time because people want to come to the government. And the inclusivity was that even civil society, for the first time in history of nation states, were given a table at the negotiation table as though they were party to the war itself. But they were not in the war. But they were given even more of them. We were given a table at the negotiation to now talk about their issues. What is your issue if you are not fighting me? You see? But that's how the whole scenario came, and we have uncontrollable rebellion. That is what happened. So I think that our job now is to bring the country together, whether whatever was done was right or wrong, but we have to bring ourselves together with the hope that this is only a transition. As we move forward in the next few years, we should be able to learn from what happened to us as people of South Sudan, and that we should know that being in government is not the only thing. But you need to train, inform our public. They need to know that they are being used as mechanisms by their children to come to power. It is so unfortunate that we can use the ignorance of our population to create this, and it is being backed up by certain countries. That is so unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. You say something about the International Women's Day. How does it reflect in terms of the International Women's Day?
Women's Day, okay.
Yes, how does it reflect the 35% allocation in your party?
You know, SPLM probably was the only political organization in the history of the African continent which came up with a percentage for women and youth. We started with 25.
25%.
Yes, and then we moved to 35 during our convention in 2016. And it is where the negotiators pick that up from SPLM constitution and put it in the peace agreement. For us in the SPLM, we observe that. And there are certain times when it is not possible. And I think people criticize us for especially the governorship positions in the country. We've had our problems in terms of some states were being very unstable. And we decided as a party that in some of those areas it is not good for our women colleagues to go there. Because you don't even have, let's take for example, when I was a governor of the defunct Lajor state, you don't even have a place where you can keep your female colleagues. People, there were no houses, there are no latrines, there's nothing. Everything, every physical infrastructure was destroyed. And so people were just sleeping in the trenches, waiting for the next bomb to fall on you. We didn't think that it was time. But now, with this kind of peace atmosphere that has come, definitely we will fulfill our obligation. But we have fulfilled our obligation in other sectors. But maybe not in the governor positions, but we are going to do that. We are the ones who came up with 35%, and we should not be beaten to our own game. We will do that.
Okay. Before we conclude, I want to give you 2 minutes to tell our viewer what is your last message to them.
My last message is that the SPLM under the leadership of President Salva is fully committed to the peace agreement, is fully committed to stability of our country. Whatever has happened in terms of the swapping of ministries or the relief of some ministers, it's not a call for alarm. It's a normal function of the president discharging his presidential duties. And we will amicably resolve this small incident between ourselves and our partners, the IO. So people should go about their business. Nothing is going to happen. We are committed to peace. Thank you.
SG, thank you for talk to SSBC.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving us your time, and we hope to meet again and talk on a different issue, probably maybe in the near future.
Absolutely.
Thank you
very
much.
Thank you.
Viewer, we have come to the end of this program. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you again next week for another exciting episode. And until then, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
I